Welcome back to Naruto Shippuden Anime Review Part 13. Yes, I know it's been a couple weeks, 2 or 3 weeks since I actually did one of these videos. Why? Because I did several other anime. That's the reason why. And I'm going to do, basically this is the first of 2 videos in a row I'm going to do this one because the past weekend when I was gone out of town, I got done 2 straight story arcs. The Pain arc and the next arc, which I'll discuss in Part 14. This was discussing the Pain Assault arc. In my opinion, one of the best arcs of Shippuden. Though it does have a reputation for having one of the worst animated episodes of the entire series. Which episode is it? Episode 167. Oh boy. Oh my gosh. Yes, this episode is notorious. Why? Because of its terrible animation. It's like the regular animation team decided to take a day off and just have this really awful looking animation take over an episode. It's got great writing with it and great voice acting, but my gosh, the animation is horrible. I wonder how the cast of the show, the dub actors, felt about this particular episode. I mean, if I get a chance to meet with Milligan, I'm going to ask her about this. How did she feel about this episode? Because after all, she and the guy who voiced Pain, like, oh my gosh, wow, oh my gosh, yes. Now this arc, I mean, aside from that negativity, there's a few other minor negative things I will discuss over the course of this particular arc, with the video, that I didn't like about this arc. I mean, yeah, 167 aside, that one is hilariously bad for its animation, but that's notorious. But that's not what I have against this particular arc. Yes, though it's a few minor nitpicks, I will get to that. The arc starts off with Naruto being mopey in bed. He's basically in bed. And from the way the animation, basically the writing, you take this, it seems as though the previous arc never happened. Nope. Well, somewhat anyways. Yeah, because at the, I believe it was the start of this arc, I think it was, or the previous arc, they actually showed Uzuki, I think it's the guy who's the whole six-tailed slug, when the Akatsuki, what was left of them anyways, which at this point gets to Pain, Conan, Zetsu, Toby, and Kinamaru. Yeah, only 5 people left. And you're probably thinking, wow, man, the Akatsuki's really dwindled down. The reason being because half the main people at this point have been killed off over the course of the series. I mean, Deidara killed himself. Orochimaru and Itachi were killed by Sasuke. Let's see. Kakazu was killed by Naruto and Kakashi. Hidan was buried alive by Shikamaru. Sasori was killed by his grandmother and Sakura. I think that's it. Yeah, they've already killed off most of the Akatsuki right now. So, yeah, after they sealed the six-tailed slug. Now, in case you're curious, so wait, they got the first 6, okay? Where the heck because at that point they had about 3 left, which basically was 6, 8, and 9. Now you're probably thinking, where in the world did they get 7? They probably got that one prior to. Now, when they got the one who hosted the 7 tails, that's actually not explained until season 19. Yep. So Uru is basically Uzuki. He's basically dead. Yeah, because his tail beast was basically taken by force. So he's dead. Yep, he's dead. And he stays dead for the rest of the series. He does get back a reanimation jutsu and under let's say a vision. But aside from that, no. He stays dead. Unlike with Gaara, basically, when granted Chio, when she transferred her life force over to him, he's still alive. Not this guy. Nope. Stays dead. Kind of good too, because I kind of felt this guy was boring. Well, the guy was like so bland and not that interesting. And he never revealed that he was host of Six-Tailed Slug. Yeah, it was hinted at that he was hiding something. Yeah, it wasn't revealed until Pain freaking attacked him at the end of his own self-titled arc. That's when I figured, oh yeah, he was the host of Six-Tailed Slug. I'm like, really? You kept that hidden the whole arc? Okay. Okay, now Naruto was called by Sakura, though he manages to basically put on some pants. And he goes visit Tsunade in her office. Of course, Suzune is there. Sai is here. Oh, and by the way, fun fact about Sai in this arc. Like, aside from this scene, Sai is never seen again. Sai briefly appeared toward the end of this arc, and after that, he is never seen again until the start of the Kage Summon arc. Yeah, Sai, one of the brand new characters introduced in this series, and he appears for like 2 quick cameos. I'm like, really? Really? A new character that Kishimoto based. Now, you can probably fault the manga for this as well, where it's like, okay, you bring in Sai, you bring him to the start of the second arc post time skip, and he's there for most of the series, and then he gets this arc and like, he does nothing. He pops at the beginning. He pops up once after this team with Anko and Yamato. After that, he's not seen again until the start of the Kage Summon arc. Yep, basically Naruto was informed by, and of course first he sees the Chief Toad and Yamato, and they're like, what are you guys doing here? Like, go inside, I'll tell you. And he gets the bad news. Jiraiya has been killed. And despite the fact that the should hear more information, he basically storms out of the office because he's angry at Tsunade for letting him go, letting go the Hidden Rain Village. And, well, Naruto is quite mopey after this. He basically is very angry. And Tsunade basically accepts the anger from Naruto because this is Jiraiya, someone he deeply respected and cared for. And the geezer Toad, that's what Naruto calls him. Which, when he hears that Jiraiya was called Pervy Sage, like, that actually fits him. It's a good nickname for him. And he refers to him as Jiraiya Boy. And he refers to Naruto as Naruto Boy. Yeah, he always refers to like name and boy. I'm like, he does it even for several Toads that basically are younger than he is, despite the fact they're 3 times his size. I'm like, I don't know why he does this for, it's just a habit of his. He also refers to his wife as Ma. Yes, his wife. And his wife refers to him as Pa. Yeah, this doesn't make any sense at all. I get the fact they're the elder Toads, but hey, the guy at least is a damn good teacher. He also basically shows up on his back, and of course Naruto himself was basically very mopey afterwards. And then he basically just walks about, gets a popsicle, and then he's talked to by Aruka. Yes, Aruka. Now, 3 years ago, I criticized this scene. Basically, when Aruka basically is going to talk to him about basically comforting him about the death of Jiraiya. I criticized this, and I still stand by this. It should not have been Aruka basically talk to him about this. It should have been Shikamaru, Ino, or frickin' Choji, because they've actually been through this. They've lost their master, so why don't they talk to him about this when he's basically wandering all night? Nope, had to be frickin' Aruka. I get the fact they're close and it's basically part of the character, but you could have had Shikamaru here, or Ino, or Choji. Nope, had to be frickin' Aruka. Okay. And of course, they break the popsicle up and they eat it. Of course, this is a orange cherry popsicle. Like when Jiraiya showed up, he basically had blue raspberry one. Yep, so he gets kind of over. And of course, next day, of course, he's still walking around the village. Well, has headband on, surprisingly. Yeah, there's no explained reason why he doesn't have it on. Because normally, even when he's wearing a training uniform, he usually wears the headband. But here, there's no real reason why he doesn't wear it. He's not been stripped of his gaining position. Nope, he's just not wearing it. And of course, Shikamaru basically is, well, been tasked by the fact he's supposed to give an intelligence report. He basically was tasked by Tsunade to code this message. And, like, okay, first he goes visit Kakashi. And not even he basically knows what it is. And eventually Naruto doesn't know exactly at first. And then Shikamaru's like, okay, fine, come with me. And Naruto finds out that Kurenai is pregnant. Of course, he thought he put on weight. Nope, she's pregnant with Ashima's child. Yep, this is when he finds out about this. And Shikamaru, he's like, Kurenai, you don't have to come over there. He's like, he has to because he's going to be that child's student. Well, even that child is going to be his student one day. I'm like, interesting. Good back character for Shikamaru. Of course, this is briefly brought up when Kurenai disappeared a little bit after this, during the actual assault, where he's actually protecting her because, well, he deeply cares about her because she's carrying the child of his of his late teacher. So of course he would basically be protecting her. And of course they figure out that one of the numbers is actually the letter for Tai. And then of course, well, they figure out though, thanks to some talking to the intelligence woman, this woman who works in intelligence, who basically has got a thing for Shikamaru. And the thing is, as far as I know for this woman, I don't think she appears at this arc. Nope. I don't think she does. And then of course they figure out though what the message is, thanks to reading well, Jiraiya's his last book he released. And the message is the real one is not among them. And then of course, well, Fukusaka basically gives Naruto a chance to become a sage. Like, okay. And they go straight there. They'll first they go out to the village, then they get transported there. And of course, oh, by the way, Sai is seen here. And after this, never seen again until toward the end of the arc. And then of course, Naruto begins his training. Of course, he was summoned there by Gamakichi. Cool, and Gamakichi's here for a good portion of the arc. And I appreciate the fact they gave him a lot to do. It's also, this arc also Return of the Chief Toad. Yeah, because basically at the start of this arc, this is the first time that Chief Toad's been seen in this series. The Gamakichi, he was last seen in the Three-Tailed Beast's appearance arc. That was several arcs back, which had very good pacing with it and a lot better writing than the 12 Guardian Ninja arc. Then of course, well, they go to the free sub training. They try basically like with the Toad Oil, and of course, like up to his Naruto Shadow Clones, speed through the training easily. Though every time basically gets a little too much, he basically is probably be hit in the head. Though at one point he gets beat up too much that he was still under the influence, but basically beat up anyways. After he masters that, then he basically tries to natural without it, and of course he balances on top of this particular like top peak, which basically Jiraiya was shown, and it said it took Jiraiya 3 years, and then of course they drew the final one, basically merging, and they try to do an ultimate, and then, well, meanwhile though, at the Hidden Leaf Village, everything's so quiet and peaceful. Like, okay, got to report here, got to report back, and then Pain shows up, kills a bunch of these Jonin like it's nothing. And then of course they answer the obvious question, like, okay, like there's this big humongous barrier surrounding the village, and they have to get through it. And like, okay, we had to break this barrier, and they asked the obvious question, and of course, like, how did Itachi get through this barrier without basically causing alarm? And Pain easily remembers it. Itachi was part of the Amu Black Ops, so he had the codes, he had the jutsu codes, which, okay, that made total sense. Even though that it clearly looked like they would just walk in the village. Okay, I get the fact that they had to do that retcon because, well, they had to do a big surprise assault in the village. And this is actually pretty good. The explanation that he was, of course, on Black Ops, they were established that, and the fact that he knew the codes because, well, he was part of the Black Ops, that's perfectly fine. I had no problem with the retcon. And then it's the female member of the Six Pillars of Pain that they basically launch an attack in the village, like one intruder, and then of course there's a whole bunch of them. They summon their summoning creatures, and they basically launch a full-scale attack in the village, killing people left and right, asking where Naruto is, wrecking the city like freaking crazy. And of course Tsunade is like, what the? And of course I was like, what the heck is that? And of course they see that the village is being under attack. Shikamaru goes to protect Kurenai, and of course Tsunade basically thinks they're like, okay, we need to bring back Naruto right away. And the elders, two of them, like, you shouldn't keep him where he is. And then, of course, then she convinced them that Naruto's basically braver than you two are. Like, okay, they're on their side. And then, of course, the messenger is about to go back, and then Danzo comes in and just kills him. Yes, the idiot Danzo. Yep, I'm wondering why he's never actually blamed for Naruto's delayed return. Yeah, that's something that's never actually explained. Like, okay, they apparently... Now, the viewer note was Danzo who killed this messenger toad. And the thing is, nobody ever figures this out. Nobody. I'm like, really? Okay, fine. And then, of course, well, lucky enough that the female toad, basically, she was already outside the village, so she summoned them along with a handful of toads. Now, when they did this, they had the main pain do his almighty push, which pretty much smashed the village and pretty much reduced the ruins, with the exception of the Hokage mount, surprisingly. Yeah, I'm like, really? Like, all the buildings get smashed, but not the Hokage mount. I'm like, wow. And also, during this attack, Pain managed to kill Kakashi. Yeah, he killed freaking Kakashi. And also, prior to this, Ibra tried to protect Konohamaru. So Konohamaru basically uses his special jutsu. Of course, Mogi thinks it's probably some sex jutsu. Oh no! Like, what did Naruto teach Konohamaru? If you watch Boruto, you know exactly what it is. It's a freaking Rasengan, which he uses to take out one of the pillars of pain. Even Evans was like, "Wow, that is basically that's a Class A jutsu." Yeah, even he's shocked by the fact that Konohamaru knows this, and the fact he put it up really well. Naruto does note this to Konohamaru later on, and at the end of Kage Summon arc leading up to Fourth Ninja War. Yep. And then right after the village is crushed, we have Sakura yelling, "Naruto!" And then we have one of the best entrances of the entire, like, Watchmojo did, like, this top 10 entrances. Now, I mentioned in One Piece review that the Whitebeard's entrance was on the list. This entrance is on the list, too. When Naruto comes with a small fleet of toads. He comes with Cheap Toad, Gamakuchu, I think it's his name. He was the one to basically follow alongside Jiraiya during the Guts Nits arc. And one who basically doesn't really talk. This is his first appearance. And then, of course, Naruto, when he shows up, first thing he does, smashes one of the Pillars of Pain, the one who's also partial robot. And you're like, oh, Naruto Uzumaki. And then he basically does something that even one people who uses Byakuya with Hyuga, it's like, man, it's like something spinning and it looks like a shuriken. And so I'm like, oh crap, it's Rasengan Shuriken. He doesn't stop Hyuga. And of course, what Naruto uses, he takes a couple of Pillars of Pain, and throughout this whole battle, he takes out most of them except for like one. Though, of course, he's able to take out one of them thanks to going to Sage mode while being held by him. Like, let's figure out, I'll put some Sage mode jutsu in him, and turns into a freaking Sage. Like, interesting. And then he runs out of energy, and then, of course, Pain, of course, beats the crap out of him. And then he basically pins him with a chakra. First pins his hands, and then he pins, like, his legs and basically his sides. Like, I avoid all your vital points. Hanada, getting sick of this, runs out herself and basically kicks Pain. And then she basically takes out the one chakra that's holding on Naruto's hands. And then she does something that she's never seen in a series before. Basically, she does the Tiger Gentle Fist. Basically making these tiger chakra things on her hands. And what does she do with it? Takes out two more of the chakra rods. And of course, she gets constantly thrown back by Pain. The animal Pain. I think it's the... I don't know which one it is. It's the one who's Yagato. And then, of course, he does something completely unforgettable that makes Naruto go freaking nuts. He basically stabs Hanada with a chakra rod, and then Naruto goes freaking nuts, going to his tail, his tail beast mode, which he proceeds to basically turn the area to water, and then basically he just shoves him outside the village, and then of course he basically puts him inside this thing of the moon, and they mention, oh yeah, the 6 years past basically fall on the moon. Yeah, then inside here, Naruto basically is under a trance by the Nine-Tailed Fox, where he's about to basically move the terror, the turn fully into full Nine-Tails. And then we see he's stopped by the 4th Hokage. Now you're probably thinking, why would the 4th Hokage be here? Isn't he dead? Well, it finds out though that he's actually... Now, the viewers basically have figured this out though, thanks to the... toward the end of the Itachi Pursuit arc, Figures out, though, that the fourth Hokage is in fact Naruto's father, and this is where Naruto basically meets his father for the first time. And what does he do? He basically is like, oh, hi, Dad. Punch him right in the gut. And, of course, Minto has got no problem with this. From his perspective, he rightfully deserved that. And he's like, why did you put this thing inside of me? Even though basically it made me have almost a miserable life. And he's like, because you're my son. And I figured, you could basically handle it. And you'd hopefully be trained to use this thing properly. And okay, then he basically fixes the seal, which basically melts away. And then, of course, he uses his last of his sage mode to basically defeat the final pain. And of course, then he uses one of the chakra rods. He used one of them, which he broke off, stabs him with it, and finds out where Nagato is on Konan. Which they're inside of a paper tree. Why in the world he chooses this as his base? No idea. Then, of course, after he defeats the final pillar, he moves all the chakra rods in this Yagato's body, with the exception of the ones in his face. I'm like, okay, you moved all the ones in his body, but you don't move the ones in his face? Yeah, that made no sense at all. Plus, I love the fact that Choji basically detailed info about this particular pain, the Sonata, before the whole major destruction of the village thing happened. Meanwhile, this is happening. Yamato basically gets a signal from his hand because he's basically meant to keep an eye on Naruto in case he goes wild. So basically, he rushes back in the middle of a mission. Yep. And then when he gets back, he sees that everything is fine afterwards. Oh, well, I'll explain what happened. And then, of course, then he just walks to the tree, pulls it open, walks in, sees Nagato, sees the fact he really hates the man. Then, of course, Nagato gives his backstory, how he basically, what happened with his parents, where they killed by Hidden Leaf Ninja, how he first met Jiraiya, which is kind of explained in a previous flashback, though it was a bit more here. They don't show here the time when Jiraiya, Yagato, Nagato, and Konan basically wore frog suits. And the fact that, Jiraiya does bring up the fact that Konan be a beautiful woman. Which, that proved to be true because Konan is hot. And, though here's the thing, she refers to Naruto as a child, despite the fact she's 10 years older than he is. Yeah, he's 16. And he referred to him as a child. He's a teenager, not a child. And basically, after explaining his backstory, of course, Naruto gives his answer. Basically, he chooses Jiraiya's way. And then, Nagato does something that's been seen only twice in this particular series. The first two times. Next time this is seen is actually into Fourth Ninja War, where he does a forbidden jutsu, Rhine Rebirth. And what does it do with this? Bring back everybody he killed over the course of his tower, including the Gizuto. He got killed by He got killed by pain, so it got brought back, and then pretty much with all the pillars of pain dead, basically Yagato and Nagato, basically these two, their bodies are taken by Konan back to Hidden Rain Village because these two are precious to me. Because she had to think for both of them, though more for Yagato, because it's showing a flashback later on. These two had a romantic relationship where these two made out, and it's implied these two had sex afterwards. Though they don't show it, but they're basically very close. Also, the fact they don't show here, but they show us later, of what happened to Hanzo. They pretty much killed all Hanzo's subordinates, and Danzo was there. Yep, Danzo was there. Yeah, the stuff Naruto was told about Danzo. Nope, doesn't matter telling about the fact that Danzo was indirectly responsible for making the Akatsuki. Well, basically, officially, you could say he's responsible for turning the Akatsuki what they are. And he notes that basically Konan and Nagato are not like the other members of the Akatsuki, who enjoy killing. These two don't enjoy it at all. Which, that's indeed true, because they're meant to be very peaceful. And, of course, Nagato refers to Naruto as a sibling disciple, because both disciples of Jiraiya. And then, of course, after he's brought back, then Naruto, prior to meeting up with Pain, he meets up with Shikaku, who is Shikamaru's father, Ino's father, and one of the members of Hyuga. I don't know who this guy is. Like, oh, hi, masters. And then, of course, let me hand this on. And he's like, Naruto, go ahead. And he's like, thank you, Mr. Shikaku. Which, the thing is, when it comes to the fathers of Ino and Shikamaru, Naruto, aside from this one scene, and of course they know who Naruto is, probably because their children basically mentioned him to them. But the thing is, aside from this one scene, I don't think he's ever seen interacting with Shikaku at all. Not really, no, because he more interacts more with Shikamaru. Kind of the same thing with Ino's father. And of course, Ino, basically, when he comes back, of course, everybody's cheering the fact Naruto is now proclaimed the hero of the leaf. It's like, oh, I can easily fall for him. Despite the fact she's already in love with Sai. Yep. Now, I do have a criticism, really big criticism. Naruto has no interaction with Hinata. Of course, Hinata, before she got stabbed by Pain, she revealed that she's actually in love with Naruto. Of course, the viewers have known that for a long time. And of course, does Naruto bring this up at all? Nope. Doesn't ever speak a word to her at all about this. Nope. Then of course, well, like she's happy Naruto's there, but of course Sakura basically punches him in the gun, of course gives him a hug. Does Hinata give him a hug? Nope. By the way, Team Guy, this flashback scene in the opening titles, basically they're seen fighting Pain. They don't do anything in this arc. Nope. Neji, of course, who had not been seen since the start of the Tazakagi Bridge arc. Excuse me. This is first appearance instant, and what does he do? They're like, suspicious feeling. Of course, everybody goes back to the village and they see what happens. And of course, it's also that Hinata's father is out of town with Hanabi, Hinata's younger sister. Now, it's later revealed why they're out of town. The reason why they're actually out of town, because they were actually away out of town to do some negotiations. That's really what they were doing. Yeah, they do this in Hanabi two-parter that comes later on in the series, which is when they come back and they're shocked to see what the Hidden Leaf Village basically, what happened afterwards. And of course, well, then with pretty much everything all settled, that's where the arc ends. Basically, Naruto basically jumped up in the air and became a basically big hero because he defeated Pain. Obviously, he basically has become a sort of a celebrity in town. He has become a world celebrity until the end of the series. But I gotta say, Pain arc is really good. I mean, aside from the 167 episode, which, yeah, animation-wise, one of the worst ones of the whole series, my other criticisms is basically no thought what happened with Hinata. Yeah, I mean, Naruto doesn't interact with her at all. Nope. I mean, the only time he interacts with her after this arc was a brief interaction he had before with the Ninja War. And then, like, a few times. And then after that, they pretty much don't do much of anything with these two until the film The Last. 1010 has have no interaction with Naruto this whole arc. Nope. And it's interesting to know that Team 10 got a lot to do in this arc. But does Team 8? Not really, no. Kiba, of course, if I remember, is not even seeing this arc. I mean, Shino is. Yeah. He's fighting alongside his father against Conan. Yeah, at least he's doing something. Oh yeah, Kiba does do something. He fights one of the Pillars of Pain in the autopsy room. Oh yeah, and Shizune is killed by one of the Pillars of Pain when she indirectly, unintentionally reveals where Naruto is. Like, oh, he's at Mount Makabushi. Let's go there. And before it goes, destroy the village. Yep. Yeah. So aside from the fact that no follow with Hinata, most of the characters, a lot of the characters seen in the series don't do much of anything. Sakura rightfully so does much of anything. I would say from Team 10, the only people who actually does anything is Choji. Yeah, he's the most active member. Like, he's probably one character does a lot. And plus, gosh, he had an awesome fight with Pain in this arc. It seems like everybody had a really good fight with Pain who actually did a lot of fighting. Of course, aside from Naruto, I would say Kakashi and Choji had a really good fight with Pain. Kiba had a pretty good fight with Pain. Shino didn't do much of anything at all. Yeah. And one of the weird things that happened was when he destroyed the village, apparently with so much rubble, it apparently busts open the gates up really quickly. Like, wow, okay. By the way, in case you're curious though, how long does it take for the village to rebuild? Well, the village is not rebuilt until, just after the 4th Ninja War. Yep. And What happens next? Well, of course, Tsunade, of course, is actually in a coma, and she remains in a coma for the next couple of story arcs. She actually gets out of the coma at the end of the very next, not the next arc, but at the end of the Kage coma. That's when she comes out of her coma. When she has a lot of eating. Oh, good God, yes. I gotta say, damn good arc. Definitely looking forward to the Kage-sama arc when I get to it. Yep. So yeah, that's it for particular review. Oh, one other thing. What manga does this cover? Yes. This one covers chapters 413 to 413. 413 to 453. Yeah, roughly a 41 chapter arc. Now this was covered episodes 152 to 169 and 172 to 175. Now you're probably thinking, wait, what about 170, 171? That was pretty much a useless two-parter, where this is basically the day before the final exam, the final round of the Chunin exams, the original Naruto series, where he tries to the fourth Hokage legacy. It's pretty much a useless two-parter. It's easy skipped over. So yeah, until the next video, which will be more Naruto Shippuden. Okay, to the next video. Bye.